What's up, guys? Swift here, covering everything Chicago Bears with training camp on the way. I wanted to touch on some of the interesting position battles we have, other than the running back position, which I'm going to address in another video. The roster has a lot more talent than it did last season at this time, and there will be some very intriguing battles taking place all over the roster. Let's get right into it. I want to start off on the defensive side of the ball, where we have some very heated battles shaking up. First up is the CB2 job, or cornerback 2, that plays opposite of Jaylon Johnson. We know JJ is one starter and that Kyler Gordon will be the nickel, but our CB2 job is wide open on paper. Throughout the early portion of OTAs, it would seem like Tyrique Stevenson has a leg up on the job, but he will have to battle fellow rookie Terrell Smith, incumbent starter Kindle Vildor, and youngsters Jaylon Johnson and Michael Ojemudia. I expect Tyrique Stevenson to win this job after looking very impressive early on in OTAs, and I saw a lot to love when I broke down his All-22 film. After the starting corner spot, the biggest competition on the defensive side of the ball will come at right defensive end position. There will be a lot of competition on the interior of the line too, as Justin Jones and Andrew Billings will battle it out with fellow rookies Gervon Dexter and Zach Pickens, but the most open spot on this line is at right end. I expect DeMarcus Walker to win the starting job at left end with a combination of those four defensive tackles on the inside, but the right end job is wide open. I think Trevis Gibson should be the early favorite. He led the team in pressures last season from the defensive line. He will be challenged by free agent addition Rasheem Green, second-year player Dominique Robinson, and a freak athlete trying to get his career back on track in Terrell Lewis. I still think defensive end is probably the biggest weakness on the entire roster, but that's four guys battling for just one spot. They will rotate, and it's possible the guy who wins the pass rushing role ends up with more sacks than whoever wins the starting job. But this is set up to be another fierce competition that lasts throughout training camp. So how does the position shake up, and who wins the job? This one is tough. We really don't know how much Terrell Lewis and Dominique Robinson have progressed this offseason until we get to training camp. It's also hard to project how Rasheem Green fits on this defensive line and whether or not Trevis Gibson is ready for a bounce-back season. I think Terrell Lewis and D-Rob have a ton of potential and should at least see reps as pass rushing specialists. I think the starting job should be a battle of Rasheem Green versus Trevis Gibson, as both are more complete players and can play the run. My money would be on Trevis Gibson. Some people say he doesn't fit the scheme, but I saw a guy continue to get better last season, and I think the other additions on the line will help Trevis have a big year. If he doesn't, his time in Chicago won't last much longer. I believe we have some talent at edge rusher, and there's upside for these guys to develop into better players. The onus is on the coaching staff to continue developing them throughout training camp. Lastly, on defense, Jack Sanborn and Noah Sewell could be in a battle for the Sam linebacker spot, but let's go ahead and move on to the offense. I won't talk about the running back position today. I'll drop that in a video in the next day or two, so let's get right into the wide receiver number 4 job. The top 3 receiver spots are pretty much set in stone, at least heading into the season. DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, and Darnell Mooney all rest atop the Bears depth chart. The 4th receiver has a chance to see the field and get some opportunities. On top of that, with both Mooney and Claypool dealing with injuries right now, they have a good chance to see the field even more this year. However, the competition should be fierce. Equanimeous St. Brown probably holds the job entering the offseason after starting 16 games last year and returning on a 1-year deal. He didn't produce much, but he started 16 games. He caught 21 passes for 323 yards and a Week 1 touchdown. ESB's upside isn't exciting, but he's a solid wide receiver for the bottom of the depth chart. He should not be starting again this year. I don't think he should win the wide receiver 4 job. I have him at wide receiver number 5 or 6. His first competition is going to be from Dante Pettis, who also returned punts after playing in all 17 games last year and starting 7 for the Bears. He also served as the primary punt returner most of the year. I know most fans don't want to hear it, but Pettis has built some pretty good chemistry with Fields over the last year and a half. I think Pettis has a good chance to stick around unless Velus can lock down that punt return job. ESPN Pettis will be challenged by 2 promising youngsters who I think have a better chance of winning that wide receiver 4 job. First up is Velus Jones Jr., last year's 3rd round pick, who is a yards after the catch monster and has blazing 4.29 speed. Velus struggled mightily early on in his career, costing the Bears with some late game muff punts and fumbles. Things started to turn around late in the season as Velus was building some momentum. He finished with over 600 yards on kick returns with an awesome 27.6 yards per return. He also flashed his skills on offense, scoring 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing and receiving. He had 9 rushes for over 103 yards and a touchdown, and 7 catches for 107 yards and a touchdown. So on the season, Velus had 16 total touches, and they went for 210 yards and 2 TDs. That's an exciting 13.1 yards per touch, showcasing his playmaking ability and how dangerous he can be with the ball in his hands. His biggest issues came on punt returns, where he had 2 muffs, and he also had a fumble. Turning the ball over 3 times as a rookie will not get you a lot of fans. Velus was productive in his limited role though. 9 of his 12 touches on the year went for first downs and 2 for touchdowns, and he only dropped 1 pass on the entire season. I've said it too many times, but I'll say it again. Never write off a player just after their rookie year. Most players' biggest jumps come from year 1 to year 2 when it comes to the NFL, and Velus has had a strong start to the offseason program, and he's looked good during OTAs. Give Velus a chance. He has a ton of playmaking potential. With all of the additions to our offense, he will be an afterthought when it comes to defenses. He has a chance to make some plays this season. I think the winner of the wide receiver 4 job comes down to Velus Jones Jr. and Tyler Scott, the rookie from Cincinnati, who's my other favorite to win the job. He's a 4th round rookie who possesses a lot of the same skills and traits that Darnell Mooney does. I think Tyler Scott was a steal in the 4th round of the draft, and he's a guy who should develop into a starter in the NFL. His path is currently blocked right now by the Bears' top 3 guys, but he has the speed, route running, hands, and playmaking ability to make some noise at the next level. He's a dynamic playmaker who is going to be sitting on the bench. I believe Luke Getsy will find ways to get him on the field. I think both Velus Jones Jr. and Tyler Scott will make some big-time plays throughout training camp and in the preseason. As long as these guys stay healthy, our offense will have a plethora of dynamic receivers week in and week out. Which brings me to the last position I want to talk about, the center job. There are 4 guys in the mix here with Cody Whitehair, Lucas Patrick, Dieter Eisland, and Doug Patrick. I don't know how much of a battle there will be here. If Cody Whitehair stays healthy, I expect him to lock down the center job and solidify the position heading into the season. Lucas Patrick is on the final year of his deal after struggling to stay healthy in 2022. He has a chance to battle Whitehair for the job and could be our number 1 backup on the interior of the offensive line. I like Patrick as a center option, but his play at guard last year was subpar. I think he's a solid veteran that adds to the depth on this line, but I don't see him beating out Cody Whitehair. Dieter Eisland is another interesting guy who got some work with the first team at center early on in OTAs. He's been a guy that has been on the practice squad for a couple of years now. I really want to see his development in training camp and throughout the preseason. Dieter has a chance to impress and stick around, but his time is also running out. And then we also have Doug Kramer, the 6th round rookie from last year who missed the entire season on the injured reserve. He's back and he's healthy, and his progress is going to be something to watch. He was undersized coming out of Illinois, but he's a smart player who made the calls on the line and has a lot of potential. His preseason will be very important, but I do not expect him to be in the mix for a starting spot. I think the job is Whitehair's as long as he's healthy. The rest of the starting offense is pretty set, although I do expect to see Robert Tonyan involved with the starters a lot, paired with Cole Kmet for some two tight end looks. Backup jobs are on the line. The swing tackle job is important, but for the most part, I covered the most intriguing battles to look forward to as we head towards training camp. What do you guys think? Who do you think will win each starting job? And what's the most important battle in your eyes? Let me know in the comments. Thanks to everyone who watches. Please hit that like button for me. And until next time, bear down.
Yeah, we icy. We going for that ring. We about to go golf. Let's go to the swing. So, yeah.